Call please, Mrs. Juarez.
Commissioner Castillo?
Here.
Commissioner Gandy?
Here.
Commissioner Butcher?
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
And Mayor Campos.
Here. And now Commissioner Gandy will lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
You bow your head, please. Lord, Father, Lord, we just thank you for this absolutely beautiful weather we've been having. Lord, we just thank you for your many blessings upon this city. Lord, I just pray as we conduct the city's business tonight that you would give each commissioner wisdom and foresight, that we may conduct the city's business in a manner that you would see pleasing. Lord, I just pray that you would watch over our fire department and police department during this holiday season. Lord, I just pray that you would keep our citizens safe as they travel to and from many parties and activities that they're involved in. Lord, I just pray for firefighters in California that you would keep them safe and help to contain the fires quickly. Again, Lord, we just thank you for this wonderful time that you've blessed us with your son's birth. But Lord, help us to always remember that it points towards the cross. Again, Lord, we just thank you for the many blessings upon this city. Lead and guide us that we may do your will. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
I know we're getting good. All right, do we have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
I make the motion to amend the agenda to remove item closed session and also consideration of resolution 2017-137 award of RFP for operation and restoration.
Second.
All right, so we have a second. The motion is to remove the consideration of resolution 137 and the closed session. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Agenda is submitted and approved. All right, do we have another motion?
Mayor.
Are we going to public comment? Okay, I'm sorry. We will go into public comment at this time. If anybody wishes to address the commission, they may do so. If you'll keep your comments to about 3 to 5 minutes, we'd appreciate it. Anybody may approach the commission at this point. All right, seeing as nobody is coming up.
I have a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Mayor, Commissioners, first of all, I wanted to thank you guys for this past year. I know we're wrapping things up. Merry Christmas. Have a happy and safe New Year. And I look forward to what we get to do next year as well. But in addition to that, I know we originally had our disc golf course grand opening scheduled for the 31st of this month. After talking with some of the players, a lot of them were going to be gone, so we were not going to have a very good turnout for our tournament. So after talking with the players and also working with Holly Frontier, the disc golf grand opening date is going to be moved to January 13th. It'll start out with a tournament in the morning, and I believe it's at 1 o'clock is when we have the official ribbon cutting and grand opening. And that's all I have, sir.
January 13th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They said you're going to be making burgers.
I don't know at this point.
So I knew there was something missing. We were missing the commissioners and staff report. Staff report?
Since this was just a special meeting, we omitted it.
We don't need the approval of the minutes either, is that correct?
No, sir.
Since we already approved it last week. All right, very good. Anybody else wish to address the commission from the staff?
If I may, your mayor and commission, I'm pleased to say that our audit report was filed on time and that it looks good. And looking forward to being able to present the final document to you.
Do we have an opinion?
Yes, it's an unmodified opinion, the best opinion you can receive.
Very good. Thank you, Gary, for your hard work and all your staff. James, thank you for that.
Sure.
We appreciate that very much, and I'm sure the entire commission concurs as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Mrs. Waters?
Nothing, sir.
Okay. Wyatt? Ms. Lara? Okay. Nothing? Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes, I'd like to, tell Chief Williams, thank you for, they've already taken down the house there on Second Street, right behind the general dollar, and, looking great, and there was a tree right on my street there on, probably Second and right behind there, there was a big old tree by a telephone post, and I told Chief Williams about it, and it's gone, so I'm glad somebody got it. So I'm glad they're
Good, good.
getting our city cleaned up. That's what we want.
Exactly, very good.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's efforts. Thank you all. If I don't see you next year or this year, we'll see you next year.
You trying to tell us something?
So if I don't see you this year, we'll see you next year.
God willing.
Since we're not going to have another meeting,
That's right. That's right.
unless we have a special.
All right. Commissioner Butcher is sick tonight, but I told him he should go home, but he's going to weather the storm and hang out with us and get us all sick. Anything you want to report on or advise?
I just want to wish everybody, all the commissioners and staff, people, just have a safe holiday season. Take care of your families.
Same here. I want to wish everybody, your families, everybody, a very Merry Christmas. And I know there's some tragedies we suffered in our community recently, but that's what makes Lovington a beautiful place, because we're all family, we're all friends, and we're all members of this great community, and we all band together when something like this happens. The community, the church at St. Thomas is accepting donations for the children. If anybody wishes to donate clothing or toys, they're accepting donations for the 3 children who lost their mother recently. Commissioner Trujillo?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gandy? All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
James? All right, we'll go on. Thank you. We'll go on into action items. Do we have a motion?
Make the motion, consider resolution 2017-138, creation of the Lee Theater Special Revenue Fund.
Second.
We have a second. Mr. Williams?
Mayor and Commissioners, as we didn't receive any responses to our RFP for the operation and restoration of the theater, we want to make sure that that asset remains in operation, because we view it as a quality of life initiative. So in order for us to do that and the city to operate the theater, we do need to create a special revenue fund, which would be Fund 255, and this resolution satisfies all of our audit requirements and what we need to do in order to create a revenue fund.
All right, very good. Did this come from the auditors?
This is standard procedure when you're creating a new fund.
All right, very good. Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Any discussion?
Yeah. We're going to create a fund, you say?
Yeah, Mayor, Commissioners, the fund is created so that way whenever we sell something at the theater, the proceeds from that go into that specific fund, and that fund is restricted, meaning that the funds generated by the theater can only be used for the operation of the theater.
Is that not what's been done already?
No, sir. The Lee Community Foundation for the Arts was operating the theater, which was a totally separate entity from the city.
That way we can hold them accountable. Commissioner. Right, Gary?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion?
I had one more question on mine.
Okay.
Sorry to keep you all late, but
No, it's fine.
That's what we're here for. On these funds, you're saying we're going to generate funds.
Correct.
So, is this by selling, like you said, selling whatever's in there, you know? But how are we going to keep it open?
Through
we got
the
a special fund. We probably don't have one now, but to keep it running, to keep the bills paid, to keep the, maybe fix up whatever needs to be fixed.
Yes, sir, and that's actually covered in the budget. We generate revenue through the sale of movie tickets, in addition to concessions and rentals, as well as advertising for the theater. That's where the revenue stream comes from. We will, as you can see in the budget that we presented, we do have some capital improvement projects that we do have to do with that theater. We'll take a transfer from the city to offset that and reduce that to where basically it balances that particular budget. But those will be some upfront expenses. Those two expenses in particular being the replacement of the 2 swamp coolers in the auditorium. We did look at replacement of the entire heating and cooling system throughout the entire theater. At this time, it's going to cost well in excess of over $200,000. In our staff report that we did for our budget, we did advise that at a future commission meeting that we're requesting that the city commission appoint a committee that would do nothing but fundraising to fund the capital improvement projects, such as the complete roof replacement and the HVAC system upgrades and concession stand upgrades. So that way the city is not investing any more capital funds towards that. The fundraisers would be those actually seeking contributions from your, either corporate or private donors, private foundations, in addition to having different fundraisers to raise those particular funds. We did figure this up that if you did take out those capital improvements with the air conditioner, as well as the second largest expense is going to be the seats. We do have 115 seats installed at the theater right now. However, there are 122 pieces missing to where we can install and increase our capacity to 250. We have those pieces missing that we're having to order. At this point, we do not know exactly how much those pieces are going to cost. We think that they're going to be less than around $75 a piece, and we're hoping that that is a high estimate. We're still waiting on those. But once you take out those 2 capital projects, we're looking at about an $8,000 a year loss. The way that we were able to close that gap was by simply looking at movie scheduling, getting some advice from other single screen movie theaters that are in our situation, by looking at staffing, cutting costs through smart purchasing of your consumables like concession supplies and also just staff scheduling, as well as movie scheduling. We figured that up to be an $8,000 a year loss. When compared to 2 other quality of life facilities that we have here in the city, like our swimming pool, that is the $8,000 a year loss, or even in this particular budget that we have to finish out this fiscal year, about $23,000. Whenever you look at our swimming pool, it costs us about almost $96,000 a year to operate the swimming pool, but we're only bringing in about $24,000 in revenue. So we're actually operating that pool at almost a $72,000 a year loss, but it is a needed facility for quality of life. You also look at another facility that actually has some revenue being brought in through whether it's a designated franchise tax or sale of concessions and rentals, and that's our youth center. It costs, we bring in a revenue, or budgeted this year revenue of $79,000. However, it costs us almost $267,000 a year to operate that facility for a loss of $187,000. So this is actually a less substantial loss for the city, and it's really viewed as a quality of life initiative, and it does conform with our comprehensive plan as well.
Is there any way that we could get with our congressmen, our senators, and maybe they could come up with some monies for this project, for the Lee Theater, especially since it's a historical?
Mayor, Commissioners, that's a very good suggestion, and that is something that we would definitely want to task the fundraising committee to pursue, to find funding like that. The issue that we have are the amount of capital improvements that need to be made to the facility. Talking with theater up in Clayton, New Mexico, they have a slightly different demographic than us, but they are a smaller community. They're a single screen movie theater, historic, just like ours. They've been in operation for 7 years, and it's a break-even operation, and they're showing first-run movies. So we've actually taken a lot of advice from them. In addition to that, we're going to be personally visiting that theater to see what other, how their operations are are going to see just exactly how any tips and tricks that they may provide to us to make this a break-even operation. The pro forma that we put together, sir, was based on the actual attendance numbers that we've had over the past 9 months and projected out over 12. Now, this budget, it only covers the remaining 6 months of our fiscal year. So that's why it's significantly less than prior documents that we produced. But this is where we think we're at, just being realistic on the projections. But hopefully, through aggressive marketing and promotion of the theater, as well as different movie choices that we have, we can boost that attendance and reduce that deficit.
Thank you, James.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion to consider resolution 2017-139, approval of Lee Theater budget for fiscal year 2017 and 2018. Seconded.
We have a second. Could you repeat all that, James?
Ditto. Actually, the only thing that I did not mention is that this budget does create a part-time manager position, as well as funds for 8 part-time movie employees.
Okay. So we're gonna have a part-time manager position?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Their job would be the responsibility, staff scheduling, movie booking,
Okay.
as well as selling the advertisements for us.
Okay, very good. All right, any other questions from the commission? Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have another motion?
I make a motion we consider resolution 217-140, approval of signatory authority for studio contracts.
Second.
We have a second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, in order to actually show movies at the theater, we have to enter into agreements with various studios, such as NBC, Universal, Fox, Disney, Sony. And this requires us to basically guarantee that we are going to make sure that we pay these individuals. Well, the terms are very generic, so that we can actually execute these contracts and start booking our movies. We're requesting that by this resolution, it authorizes myself, the finance director, or the city clerk to execute these contracts. Once we execute them, then it's simply just booking the movie and agreeing to those particular terms, such as any advance fees and then a percentage of your ticket sales that goes back to the studios.
All right, very good. Questions, comments?
On that, on this particular thing we're fixing to vote on, would we run the movie theater even though the air conditioning, the heating is not working?
Mayor and Commissioners, yes, we are going to run the theater. The heating system does work. The air conditioning, as Commissioner Gandy can attest to, the swamp coolers need to be replaced. They're at the end of their life and cannot be replaced. But we can operate that. We can actually, the heating system, we've had crews over there for the past 2 weeks working on the theater and have had plenty of heat. And we are actually going to work on getting the swamp coolers replaced before spring.
Is that in the budget as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion to consider resolution 2017-141, approval to increase credit card master limit.
Second.
We have a second. Gary or James?
Well, if I may, Mayor and Commission,
You
the
may.
purpose behind this is to give us the freedom to be able to book those movies and the other on-demand needs. Apparently, we're in a situation right now where we're not allowed to receive invoices and pay payments for the movies. They have to have advance payment before they'll send us the keys and things to operate the movies. So that's the primary purpose behind the credit
come out of our general fund?
No, no, sir.
And if I could clarify on the city credit cards, the credit card, it's all it is a plastic check. We do not pay interest fees on this. When a bill is paid with the Visa, it immediately gets forwarded to accounts payable, and we pay the balance on those every month. It's just, I'm sorry.
So this will be just for this special purpose for the theater?
Correct. Yes, sir. We will have the ability to have a purchase card or Visa card specifically for the Lee Theater.
So who will be responsible for that credit card?
That will be the theater manager, sir.
Would you have anything to do with it, or?
Yes, the theater.
Or somebody?
I'm sorry. Yes, Mayor and Commissioners. The theater manager reports directly to the city manager. Using the Visa card, we still have to follow the same procurement system that we just had training on today. As far as the new way, as far as purchase requisitions, and then the issuing of PO. It's just another form of payment that we have available to us.
Gary, what is that credit limit you're asking for?
In this particular case, an additional $5,000.
To make it a total of?
$57,500.
What is it now?
$52,500.
That's a combined total of all the operating cards in a month.
Yes,
sir. Yes, sir.
Each card doesn't have a $57,000.
No,
No, sir.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Not if it ever did, but.
Only mine did.
What's in your,
Not mine.
what's in your wallet? So just an additional $5,000?
yes, sir.
Okay. Very good.
And as the city manager stated, we're in a situation where we pay those off every single month. It's not a scenario where we have outstanding balances. We pay as we go, so to speak.
And you say we're not paying interest?
No, sir.
Very good. Very good.
So if you pay it, you have to pay an interest?
Yes, but we don't.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Do we have another motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2017-142, Open Meetings Act.
Second.
We have a second. James.
Actually, Mayor, I'm going to let Ms.
All right.
Juarez
Mrs.
present
Juarez.
this.
Sure thing. So this is just our resolution for the Open Meeting Act. This is something we do every year, just for our regular meetings. We have scheduled emergency meetings. Just clarifies how they are published, advertised, and such.
You do this every year, right?
Yes, sir, every year.
Okay. Any specific changes this year?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Any questions? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have another motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2017-143, approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lovington and the New Mexico Motor Vehicle Division.
Second.
We have a second. James.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Commissioners, I do have Maria Renez with our Motor Vehicle Department. She's our director down there to answer any questions you may have. But this is actually an agreement that allows the city to operate the Motor Vehicle Department for the state Motor Vehicle Department. The agreement does incorporate, what type of backgrounds that we have to subject people to, what procedures that have to be followed. The only issue that we have with this particular agreement was found on item 16.3, which item 16.3 specifically said that any service fees collected by the city, $2 of that fee has to be returned to the state of New Mexico, which was totally new. I did notice the other day that the city of Eunice did have the same agreement. Apparently this was the wrong agreement that was submitted to the city. After consultation with the city attorney, the resolution's been worded that we need to go ahead and approve this agreement because it goes into effect January 1st and still allows us to operate as a motor vehicle department. However, we approve this so long as item 16.3 is removed by either issuance of a new agreement or an amendment issued by the state of New Mexico.
we pay $4 now. Is that the same thing? We pay $4 there when we go get a license tag?
Correct. Mayor Commissioners, that $4 is the service fee that helps offset those costs for operating the motor vehicle department. Because if you look, and Maria, why don't you come on up in case you, in item, I believe right now, the only compensation that the city receives is for every driver's license that's issued, the state from the funds that get paid to them, because it costs $18, correct? To do a driver's license plus our $4 fee. So $6 of that $18 comes back to the city from the state of New Mexico. As far as any titles or registrations that are issued, we only get $5 per transaction, whether it's a title for a $500 vehicle or a title for a $100,000 motorhome. We only get $5 on that transaction. So the $4 fee was instituted back in, I believe it was 2007, by the city to help offset those costs.
Yeah, I remember I voted for that.
Kicking yourself, are you?
Yeah.
Maria, can you take the podium? I just have a quick question for you. How are things going at the motor vehicle department?
They're going good.
I'm sorry?
They're good.
All
They're
right.
good. It's getting better with the Real ID. That was our chaos the last few months, but I believe now that the community's getting the word out, everybody's getting their paperwork in order, so it's getting better.
And you provide a list to people who come in as far as what's required of them in order to get another driver's license or whatever they're doing, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any issues there in getting people to comply?
Only CDL drivers.
Yeah.
Yes, it's mostly with our older generation, just because they've not had to provide their documents for many years, and so they have them, you know, put up somewhere that they don't even remember.
Oh yeah.
Or
their social security name doesn't match the legal name they go by, or
yeah,
a multitude of issues that cause grief and misery.
Yeah, well, Real ID requires that your legal name that is on your original birth certificate is what needs to be on your Social Security card, and a lot of individuals are not in compliance.
Sorry, I'm laughing at a facial expression across the room.
Yeah, I went to get my driver's license about maybe 4 years ago, and I had problems, I guess, with Connie. And
Yes, sir.
so anyway, I was waiting for my turn. When my turn came, I went in just to renew my license, and she said, well, you have to have a birth certificate. I said, and you need any social security? I said, well, I've got that, but I don't have a birth certificate. So I brought it. I went to the house, bought my birth certificate, and she said, you also need a marriage license. I said, what does that have to do with this? So I went and got my marriage license. Then she said, you also need a water bill or electric bill. I went and got that. There was about, and plus my birth certificate, there was about 5 or 6 different things that were required. And then I got upset. I said, well, that person that was in front of me, you didn't last that long, but did you ask him the same thing you asked me? Did you require him to have all those things like you did me? It was another Hispanic person. And I think, I don't know what she told me, but I just didn't think she had. So anyway, after being upset for 2 days, I finally said, I just can't stand it. So I went and apologized. Told her, well, I'm sorry I told you all these things. I said, I know you're doing your job. I said, but I just didn't think you required all these things, and I just couldn't sleep at night for those 2 days, just thinking that I was upset because of it.
Yes,
so
sir.
I apologized to her. But then I went again this year. And I had my birth certificate, my marriage license, my social security, a bill. So I don't know. I was born here in 1943 in Lovington, New Mexico, so I don't know.
Well,
So I hope they're getting better, like you said.
yes, sir.
That they're making sure that everybody complies to the same standard. If I'm gonna be made to comply to all those rules, I want everybody to do the same thing,
Yes, sir.
you know?
And Commissioner Sanchez, I do apologize for that.
So.
But there is different scenarios. Your scenario may not be the same
Right.
as Commissioner Gandy, whereas depending on what documentation you have, some of it starts off with your identity document. And again, depending on whether your name is on your social security card, on your proofs of residence, whether they match what's on that birth certificate. Whereas Commissioner Gandy may have a resident card from a different country where he came and became a resident of the United States. And so depending on what identity document, that's what we start off with. And then of course that leads to your residency documents. They may have asked you for a marriage certificate if maybe, and it's just a scenario, I don't know what you had, but if the proofs of residence just had maybe your wife's name on them, the state does allow that we ask for the marriage certificate to tie those documents to you. So you don't have to come to City Hall to have your name added. We can tie that water bill to you because it has your wife's name on there. But
So it'll probably happen again next year, or 3 more years from now.
well, if you've already received a real ID license, again, different scenario, may or may have already gotten his real ID. We're not going to ask him for those documents again because he's already proved he's real ID compliant. So the next time he comes, we won't ask him for anything.
Was it better for you the second time, Commissioner?
No, it was about the same, but it was a different person.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think, you know, if you get there, and it's not you, this has come from the state,
Right.
correct?
Right.
And so obtain that list, and I picked up the list, and then I left. And I got everything on that list, and I came back one time. But I had everything on the list that was required, and I made sure. And I understand that these are state mandates.
Yes.
These are federal mandates
It's
as well.
right. It's federal mandated
So-
that you have to. We actually since 2001, the state of New Mexico has been trying to push for real ID, and they've kept getting extensions because state of New Mexico obviously didn't have everything in place as
Right.
far as our equipment, computer system to get us to where we're at today. But they've been trying to push for this since 2001, and all 50 states have to come into compliance by October of 2020.
Well, one more thing they didn't have, that I didn't have, I had it, but I didn't have it there with me, was my proof of insurance. But I did have one that I was already ahead 6 months. I said, well, I've got this and it's good for August, and we're just February. She said, well, but you need the one for right now. And I don't know where it was, so I finally had to call State Farm, and they faxed one in, so we took care of that problem.
Good,
So
good. Again, I
just tell the girl, I
apologize
know
for
they're
that.
doing a good job. That's,
Thank you.
I have nothing against them.
You guys have a tough job, but we appreciate all you guys down there.
Thank you.
Pass that on to them, would you?
I'm sorry?
Pass that on to them.
I
would
will.
you?
I
Okay.
will. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. All right. Where were we?
We're on the last one.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, all right. Do we have a final motion?
I make